We're doing the recording. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Right now, we will be doing today a little bit more with Photoshop and photo editing. And hello, Kelsey. It wouldn't be the same without you, so I'm pleased that you're here. What we're doing today is a bit more with photo editing, Photoshop, and photography, because not everybody's taking the photography course. It's not required. I want people to be comfortable with images. The most important thing is just some of the basics of the nuts and bolts of resolution and JPEGs and just handling pictures so we can get them onto the computer. After looking at the pictures from last Friday, some people are really getting it, but some people really aren't. So I'd like to go over the photo editing thing for this week and give you some examples. And Kelsey was right here when I was there with the puppy doing this sort of thing. Now, a lot of people I noticed were essentially giving 4 versions of the same picture. And really, to do this assignment, you need to get 4 very different pictures. This basically says puppy at the school. She was the celebrity spokesmodel for the photo class, because you're supposed to find random people, and I know not everybody's comfortable, so I showed up. Anyway, to prepare this for the assignment to do the photo editing, the thing is you have to look at, where is the action? What's the point? And the point is puppy interacting with students. So really, and just like word editing, the action, you look at, okay, what's the point? What's the action? And here it is. We have one person taking a picture, another person playing with the puppy. Now, then the question is, how tight do you want it? See, if I did this, I'm cutting the people behind them in half, and that can be distracting. So this is really probably the best edit of the picture. So this is the first thing one does, is to crop. Look at the picture, and you notice we talked about the rule of thirds, and I thought about that taking the picture. Again, puppy is in that third, student petting her is in this third, this guy's in this third. We have leading lines. It's a good composition picture. And then we crop. Then there are things we can do with, because it's what I would call a little flat. See, auto tone, which I know Mr. Weeks hates, but sometimes it works okay. But see, you could also do levels and curves. This is our midtones. This is our lights. Here's our lights, here's our darks, here's the midtones. You can play with that a little bit. But sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, I think that the auto tone worked very well. One other thing we can do here is what we call the dodge tool. And here is window, brushes, how big our, come on, how big our brush is. See, I'm lightening that a little bit in here, a little bit under there, a little bit in there, and I'm basically set. Then image, where is mode? Okay, image size. See, 25 by 35 at 72 dpi. This is huge. So for this assignment, if you can, let's call it a 5 by 7 at 72 dpi, save one version. And then image size, same picture, 300. And we have the two different versions, the print version and the internet version, and we're done. So that's what I'd like to see for this assignment. I also have, I wanted to show other things. I have two pictures of walking by the State of Confusion restaurant after the dog pound, after the dog park. I have puppy loves to play with children, children love to play with puppy. So we have two different versions of essentially the same picture. We'll open that one up, and we open this up. Now, if we're going to use this picture, again, first thing we do is, where's our tools? There they are. Crop it. See, this is aunt, this is mom. If we have, look at where the action is. The action is really right there. Don't want to crop off her fingers. We don't want to crop off baby Ruby's fingers. There is your picture. And autotone probably wouldn't make much difference. The other picture is already pretty well cropped with her actual real mom. Here is our picture. And don't be afraid to make a picture a little taller or a little more narrow. The world doesn't come in a perfect 4x5 format. See, if I do the autotone, doesn't make much difference here, but when I do the levels on the side, I bet it will. Come on. Yeah, see, a little bit adjusting the levels. I made our darks darker, and that made the photo pop a little bit more. Anyway, so those are the kind of things to work with, and then two different versions of it. You notice I'm close. There is interaction of our subjects. Too many people just have the dog or the cat. Have the dog or cat interacting with something, its environment. And really, also in both cases, both the photo shoot and puppy with the baby, one shot does it. There's not really much of a reason to do 4 pictures when one does it. So much of it is finding a subject worthy of the 4 pictures. Someone at the people who went to restaurants, people who have things where people are doing things. That's much better than just, again, one scene. Again, I could be near and far, but near or far, this is the one picture that does it. So it is a challenge to come up with something worthy of 4 pictures. Anyway, in both of these cases, really, it was worth it for 1 picture. Maybe the photo shoot could have been worth 4 pictures. This scene, the 1 picture says it. Anyway, so that's what I want you to think of for this week's assignment, going over it. And I have one more little thing to think about when taking a picture.
In this video, we are going to talk about how to visually organize all of the objects in your photographs. There are things called elements of design and principles of design. There are a whole lot of them, but we are going to talk about 4 elements: line, shape, texture, and positive and negative space, and 2 of the principles: repetition and contrast. So lines can be a great thing to include in your photographs. There are so many lines in the world. There are thick and thin, wavy, dotted, fuzzy, dashed, all kinds of.
And you also notice these photographs are really using that rule of thirds thing. You know, our horizon is in the top third and in the bottom third. The lines are here in this photo. Again, third, our horizon is in the top, it's not in the middle.
Lines out there in the world. And they can be center stage in your photographs. So if you treat taking photos like a scavenger hunt, you look around the world and you try to see someplace where lines are really important. To the point that when you take a photo of lines, someone could look at that picture and say, wow, that's really a photo about lines. So in this picture down here, we have some roots kind of going through snow that create very strong lines against the snow. And over here, this was taken after Hurricane Katrina from the air. We have a thick horizontal line, which is an old road. We have the repetition of all these vertical lines, which is the old railway track, and this was probably a power line. So we have several different kinds of lines in this composition. Shapes are also very important in photographs. We can have geometric shapes, or we can have organic shapes. Geometric shapes would be things like rectangles, triangles.
And all of this stuff works in basic design as well. I mean, it's not just pictures, it works with your graphics, with your text.
Circles, parallelograms, things that follow rules set up by human beings. All right, so here we have several different kinds of geometric shapes creating a very strong composition. Over here, we have organic shapes. Now, if you think about organic food, what does that mean? It means natural food, not man-made, not used with man-made pesticides or not grown with man-made pesticides. So over here, we have these very irregular shapes that we find in nature. So when I look at this photo, I say, wow, that's really a picture where shapes are a very important thing. So if you look at these 2 images, which one is more organic and which one emphasizes more geometric shapes? Texture is also an important element of design. If we look at this photo by Edward Weston, we see that this lettuce leaf is filled with beautiful texture. Now, we talked about light and shadows in the past. Having directional lights, even on something as plain as a leaf of lettuce, can really highlight the texture and make it more important in the photograph. Here we have 2 or maybe even 3 different textures going on. We have the undulating rock of this cliff. We have these small gritty pebbles, and then we have the smooth water. Here we have some more types of texture, so from the cactus and from the peeling paint, because everywhere you look, there's texture all around you. Some of it may be fairly boring, like the top of a table, but some of it might be really interesting. So again, like a scavenger hunt, look at the world around you and try to find the most interesting texture you can. The next element of design is positive and negative space. The actual things in your photo, so these overpasses, are positive.
And to me, this particular picture is almost 2 pictures, the way it's split in half. But maybe that's the point.
Space. The negative space is the space between them. It's kind of those shapes. It's these shapes that are created, the shapes that are created in the background. And if you have interesting negative space, it helps to create an interesting composition that your viewer will take more time to look at and will be more interesting to the viewer. So this would be all the negative space. If we look here, the positive space is the buildings and the wires, and the negative space are these interesting shapes that are created in.
I would call this a busy picture and making it hard to read because all the lines you read this way. This is a lot easier to read.
Background. And here, this is this interesting space between these 2 rocks. Even in this picture, though it's just a rug on the ground and the subjects are these 2 dogs, we have these interesting shapes that are created over here between.
And the dogs fill the whole space.
The objects between the dogs. It kind of activates the space. If you have an object just floating in the middle of nothingness, that's kind of considered leftover space. But when you cut up that background into interesting shapes, it's called activated space. Repetition is the first principle that we're going to talk about, where you can repeat lines, you could repeat shapes, you could repeat colors or textures or something.
And you notice in this one, that diagonal line moves you through it. This one does not. This one doesn't move as much, but again, maybe that's the point.
In order to create a feeling of rhythm. It can be very regular rhythm, such as these 2 images. So going back and forth, or this just goes all in a row. Here again, this is somewhat regular rhythm. And here as well, repeating these piers. Or it can have a more disjointed feeling of rhythm. You can repeat things, but they don't have to be in order. If we look at this picture taken after Hurricane Katrina again, we do have things that are repeated. They're all vehicles. They are all rectangles.
But there's also some lines that lead you through it. Certainly there are in that one.
However, they're pointed different ways, and they are different sizes and different colors. But still, there is repetition. Now, shadow, which we've talked about before, and of course, positive and negative space, can also be repeated. So we can see that in this image. So when you're looking for repetition, again, in that scavenger hunt in the world, look for things where something is repeated in terms of color, shape, size, direction, positive, negative space, line, shape, all of those types of things. Contrast is the last principle that we're going to talk about today. And that's when you have opposites in terms of one of those things we've been talking about, such as line. So here we have horizontal and vertical line, changing the direction. Here we have two very different kinds of texture next to each other, two different kinds of visual opposites. You can have a conceptual opposite as well. So if we look here, take a look, try and figure out what it is. And maybe you thought, well, oh, a hammock is from the summer, the snow is from the winter. This is a summer-winter contrast. There's several other kinds of contrasts that appear in this photo as well. Look at this photo and think about the kinds of contrast we see. This is a table leg outside. Here's some grass and some plants and bushes over here. So think about this, and we will talk about this in our next class.
Okay, we're not doing their class, but these are things to look at, not just in a photo, but also in design. So these are kind of things to think about in your photos, what they're saying, and then we expand that. And it's the same principles when we put words and pictures together. And that's what we're going to do next week. We're going to put the words and pictures together. And
your assignment.
Oh, we're not doing their assignment. But yeah, that's what I want you to think about. You saw me actually do the photo editing for the puppy pictures. Do that with your pictures. And if your pictures, after seeing some of this stuff, aren't the strongest, you can take new pictures. So anyway, I want one picture done two ways, one for the internet, one for print. And you saw the difference. Anyway, and if your software doesn't do resolution and 72 or 300 dots an inch, you can do a smaller version. When you send the picture and it says large, medium, or small, small version isn't small in size, it's small in pixels. So do a small version and then do a larger version for print version. So either way, you should be able to do it. Anyway, questions on any of this? I know this is getting a little frustrating for me because I'm used to being able to work with you in a lab and stand over you and do a lot of this. All I can do is demonstrate. Anyway.
One thing I might want to say is Tyler had mentioned not having Photoshop, but there's free apps out there like Canva and things of that nature that he can download to do some of the same things that you just showed us. It's just a free app, so to speak.
Right. But the thing is, and we have other ways you can get it free for your computers or piggyback onto the computers in our labs. And this really is the industry standard.
It is.
Because again, it really allows you to prepare a picture for either internet or print, and that's the important thing.
Right.
But
Canva
come up with something like, as long as you have the concept, that's all I can ask.
Right. And Canva has that ability. So, and it's free, but I was just saying that because I know some people couldn't get this loaded on their computer due to space.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, that's right. You have an app that may allow you to do that too. So yeah, any way you can do that. And I think that's a really good point. I do appreciate that, Angie. You get not one way to do it. Welcome to the real world. Anyway, anything else going on? Okay, we will next week put words and pictures together. That will be, that's going to be interesting. We will put, you know, we've had words, you know, before. Now we've done pictures. We're going to put them together and make pages. That's the next thing. So that's what we start doing Monday. We get the pieces, then we put the pieces together. So hopefully we'll have a few more showing up. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate those of you who are here. And thank you.